So Nadija, what's been happening lately with your
Well,
Yoopers for Ukraine?
many things have been happening, obviously, in Ukraine. The work continues, the advocacy continues. We're part of a religious freedom advocacy group that meets every Wednesday across the United States to offset the idea that Ukraine is not a place of religious freedom, to kind of combat some of the arguments by people that don't want to support Ukraine because they think that that religion hasn't been able to be freely practiced in Ukraine, not only Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism, but actually Ukraine is one of the most democratic and welcoming of all religions. And so we're trying to every week put out the message, write letters to the editor, get communities involved. So Yoopers for Ukraine is part of that. And then today we're here at Art for the Park in Copper Harbor and honored to bring packauskas that were made in Ukraine and traveled from Ukraine to here. And I've asked every person that's been here to just hold this for a moment and know that someone's hands in time of war made this beautiful Ukrainian culture art piece. They wrote it, because that's what you do with packauskas, you write them, you don't decorate them. And the hands of war made it to come across the seas, to come to this person's hand so they can hold, touch, and feel something of Ukrainian culture that might disappear if we continue to allow Russia to decimate Ukraine. So this is the great joy that I've had today, is sharing this wonderful art, but also connecting people with what's happening in Ukraine. And today we've met many people, as we did yesterday. We've met Ukrainians, Americans, Latvians, Germans, Finnish, and everyone who's stopped by the table has known something about Ukraine or saw it in the news and then had some questions. And those are the people that I really enjoy speaking to the most, because a year and a half later, we really have to get the word out that this is an invasion. It's not an internal war, it is an invasion by large Russia, small Ukraine, and it is complete genocide. If anybody's paying attention to the news, they can see that, hospitals, infrastructure. Today, a child was killed. You don't do that in times of war. This is terrorism. So that is devastating to humanity's soul, and I think that everybody needs to pay attention to that. And then I ask people, because people always ask me, what can I do? The first thing you can do is pray. I believe in prayer, I believe in thinking of a higher power, but I also strongly believe in the connectivity of people. So the most important thing we can do for Ukraine on this side of the world is to talk to people and keep Ukraine in the breakfast conversation, the dinner conversation, the water cooler conversation at work. Ukraine has to be in the mouths of all people around the world, because this is a global issue for humanity. And so the more we can connect with each other and encourage people here in the United States to talk to their legislators, to call their congressmen and their senators, and to call the White House, this is the way we can most help Ukraine. We were in Canada this summer, and so the Canadians asked, I said, well, talk to your Prime Minister. You can call them just like we can call the White House. And if you don't know what to say, you can just say, thank you for continuing to support Ukraine. As an American, I believe in freedom, and I want freedom for the world. So many people ask, why are we supporting Ukraine and not America? By supporting Ukraine, you're actually doing the most important thing you can do for America and its future. Because those people who believe in patriotism and believe in the American soldier, the Ukrainians are holding the front line of freedom. And if you stretch that front line, it goes from Barcelona all the way to Warsaw. It's the longest front line that any one country has ever held. And they are holding it for the entire world. And so by Ukraine fighting in Ukraine, the fighting hasn't gone elsewhere. People have suffered, like in Africa and other places that rely on grain and rely on, most importantly, the fertilizer to come from Ukraine. So we've had hundreds of thousands of people starve in Africa already. And so this is why it's important that all of us globally help Ukraine, because that will help people in Africa, it will help people in Europe, it will help the United States to stay out of a war that they don't want to be involved in, and more importantly, it'll show our children that there is a future worth living in, because we cannot live in a future where people choose to just invade because they want to take away a country's culture, namesake, and people.